What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, just about a week ago, it was reported that Karl-Anthony Towns, star power forward and second best player on the Minnesota Timberwolves, has torn his meniscus in his knee and will be reevaluated in about 6 weeks. This is from, the Woj Twitter account. And basically they're saying that they expect Karl-Anthony Towns to be back for, quote unquote, the early Western Conference playoffs. Now, I know that wording is very vague, and I'd like to talk about in this video, what does that mean for the Timberwolves specifically? They've been playing elite basketball all season, really taking leaps, and in my opinion are legitimate title contenders from the Western Conference alongside teams like Denver, Oklahoma City, and Los Angeles Clippers. So like I said, I'm going to be explaining what I think about this situation and where it leaves the Timberwolves in terms of their title hopes. We're going to get into all that stuff. Stick around. So it's important to note that this happened about a week ago or so, or maybe a couple weeks, and the Timberwolves are 5-4 since this injury took place and Cat has missed time. So clearly 5-4, it's pretty good, but it's not as good as they were playing. They were in the first seed in the West, which is extremely tough this year. The West is always tough, but this year it's different. It is an absolute mess right now in terms of seeding. So many, competitive teams that can really make a push for the finals, and Minnesota being at the forefront of that. So 5-4 without Cat, I wouldn't say is concerning necessarily, because they have played really good teams throughout that stretch, like the Clippers, the Lakers, Sacramento, and they've really kept the games close. So they're losing close games. It's not the end of the world. It's not like they have fallen off a cliff in terms of their offense or defense from what I've seen personally. I would like to mention that backup center Naz Reid, since Cat has been down, has stepped up immensely and has put up really, really good production, showing why a lot of people think he's the best backup big in the league. I personally might agree with that statement, because Naz Reid has really taken leaps in his game. The guy is so versatile, can shoot the ball really, really well for a 5, solid defender, and just has a lot of offense in his bag. So if you're a Minnesota fan, you really got to be grateful that, there is some really good insurance behind Cat and, Gobert with Naz Reid in a situation like this where, if you don't have a good backup 5 or 4 that can step in for Cat, you're in a lot of trouble. So that is very reassuring if you're a Timberwolves fan. Like I said, it's expected Towns will return by early in the Western Conference playoffs. And what does that mean? Does that mean like first round? Does that mean like at the beginning of the first round? Does it mean second round if they make it there? Like, that's a very loose term to be thrown around, considering one of the best teams in the league, second best player and second most important player behind Anthony Edwards, is going to miss 6 weeks. That's a really, really big deal, and that's the kind of thing we'll have to wait and see on, is just how far into the playoffs Cat is able to return healthy and 100%, if 100% is even an option. If you know anything about the West this year, you would understand just how important seeding is going to be with these matchups in the first round. I expect there to be multiple upsets in the first round of the West playoffs this year, and now, unfortunately, if you're a Minnesota fan, your team is on upset watch, depending on what kind of matchup you get. Now, even if you look at just the 4 play-in teams, the playoffs started right now. You have Phoenix, who is going to be a nightmare, Dallas, who's going to be a nightmare, and then the Lakers and the Warriors. And I don't expect that to change, other than maybe Sacramento or New Orleans sliding in for one of those teams in the play-in. So, any way you slice it, like I said, Minnesota sits at 3 right now, third seed in the West, 1 game back behind Denver and Oklahoma City, which is a really good spot to be, by the way. But the Clippers are right behind Minnesota, 2.5 games back, right? And so with Cat being out, it's very, very crucial that Minnesota can hold down at least that 3rd seed. The lower you slide down in this seeding, I really think it's more likely that you're going to be upset by one of these teams. You have New Orleans, Sacramento, and the Clippers at 4, 5, and 6. And I just mentioned those 4 play-in teams. So, all those teams are very, very similar in terms of skill, in my opinion, and just how far they'll be able to go in the playoffs. I could see a lot of those teams making a push to the finals if things go their way. It's a very, very unpredictable Western Conference this year. And so, like I said, it's important that Minnesota retains a higher seed so they don't have to play the top tier of those teams necessarily. So if the playoffs started right now, Minnesota would be looking at a matchup in the first round with the Sacramento Kings, who Minnesota just lost to in overtime against. And, the Sacramento Kings are a very, very good team. I will say personally, that is the team that I would expect to not have such a high ceiling as some of these other teams personally, like Los Angeles Clippers, like a Phoenix Suns, like Dallas, or Golden State, or the Lakers. I think Sacramento just doesn't have quite the star power, even though, listen, De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis are top talents in the league, top 25 or so talents in this league, and with a good core around them, and great system with Mike Brown and stuff. But if I had to put money on it, I'm not picking Sacramento against some of these other teams. So if you can stay at the 3 spot, if you're Minnesota, and Sacramento stays at 6, I think you got a good chance if Cat comes back halfway through the series, you could still maybe take home that W. And I'm not trying to disrespect the Kings or anything, but that just proves how tough the West is. Minnesota is so good this season. I mean, they are one of the top defenses in the league all season long. Extremely competent defensively. They can beat you in a lot of ways. They can, account for so many different matchups defensively. I think they're gonna be a really tough team in the playoffs if everyone's healthy. And like I said, Cat missing, this time and potentially not coming back until maybe halfway through the first round or early second round. That's what we'll have to wait and see on, because the language is vague, and that very well could be the difference between that first round matchup that they get. This is a really unpredictable type of situation. I really think personally, if everyone's healthy on Minnesota, they are one of the, very few teams that I could easily see, making a finals run out of the West, because they've just been so consistent all season long. You could argue more than some of these other Western Conference teams towards the top. Denver's obviously going to be tough. Oklahoma City is no joke, but I really think Minnesota is extremely well built for a playoff basketball atmosphere with the way they're constructed. They also have more experience than a team like Oklahoma City, being in the playoffs against the champion last year in Denver in the first round. They actually gave Denver a pretty tough series, in my opinion, for a team of their caliber last year. So I think with the defensive versatility and, excellent level of play they've been putting up this year, and with a guy like Anthony Edwards, who is, is going to show up. He's a dog. He's going to get after it. When you have a guy like that, and then you have Mike Conley, who is a extremely underrated point guard at this point in his career, really adding a lot of stability to that team. Guys like Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, providing really solid perimeter defense with a lot of versatility, and then one of the best defenders that we've seen in the last decade in Rudy Gobert, holding it down in the paint. And then you got Cat, if he's healthy, to come in, really get that offense rolling. And so for me, I just think if Minnesota can survive the first round, I think Cat comes back 100%, and the rest is up to them, right? But if you get a tough matchup and Cat is, coming back 4 games into the first round with a tough matchup, I think there's a real possibility that you find yourself in a, troubling situation if you're Minnesota. Last thing you want to do is put yourself in a hole against a team like Dallas or like Phoenix that are just so good for a 6 seed that now, Cat's coming back and you're down 2-1 in the series, and maybe you're on the road. And, so a situation like that I could see being a real issue for any team in this league with the level of competition every team has in the playoffs nowadays. But I don't personally think the Cat injury is as bad as people might think when just reading into the time frame of his recovery and what this means for Minnesota in the West. I personally think there is a really strong chance Minnesota is going to be just fine. Like I said, these next few weeks and the last few weeks of the season are going to be really important for seeding, which is going to determine their first round matchup, and that is going to determine how far they go. Because if they can survive the first round and Cat is 100% by the second round by the time it starts, well, then that's all you need. You just got to get past the first round. And early Western Conference playoffs to me would indicate that by the time the second round starts, he's going to be healthy and ready to go. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing, and playing the odds on his health at the time. If there's a situation where you're down 2-1, or you don't like how your team's playing and it's tied 2-2 or something like that, Cat's about 90% healthy, do you throw him out there? Do you risk it? Like, these are things Minnesota's going to have to deal with and make decisions on that'll effectively determine the outcome of their season. But the way they've competed without Cat is very reassuring. Like I said, if you're a Minnesota fan, and Naz Reid specifically stepping in and playing lights out basketball in a very similar role to Cat is very reassuring as well for Minnesota. So Minnesota fans, I'll just say hang in there. Your season is not over by any means. Despite what people say, I think there's still a really strong possibility that you get a healthy Cat in the back half of the first round, whoever matchup you get, or the early stages of the second round, and you guys are gonna be just fine. You guys, Minnesota Timberwolves, are as formidable a team in the West as there is. I really do think they have as strong a chance to come out of the West as anybody, even Denver. It's just a matter of what this Cat injury is going to entail as far as when he comes back in the playoffs, when he's ready to suit up, and the matchup you get in the first round is going to be extremely crucial if you're Minnesota. You're hoping it's not Dallas, you're hoping it's not, maybe the Lakers, and you're hoping it's not Phoenix. Anyone else, I think, without Cat, you have as good a chance as you're going to get against the West this year. So that's pretty much my take on the video. Minnesota's season is not over. Like I said, extremely well built for this situation and the playoffs in particular. I think they are as playoff ready as anyone other than Denver in the Western Conference. Let me know down in the comments section if you're a Minnesota fan. How worried are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Me personally, I think I would be at at about a 4 if I was you guys. Nothing too crazy. It's something to think about. It's obviously very, very important. You know, I don't think it's the end of the world, and I think it will resolve more likely than not in a positive way for you guys. Anyways, I'm rambling at this point. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys drop a like. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. Do you think there's a real shot they come out of the West if Cat is healthy at a reasonable time, being just fine with this whole situation? Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you guys in the next video, man. This is your boy D-Have, and as always, peace.